Welcome, listeners, to a journey through time itself. Tonight we explore the greatest stories ever told, the myths of ancient Greece. Pour yourself something warm, find a comfortable place, and let your mind travel back to when the world was young and gods walked among mortals. Before anything existed, before mountains rose, before oceans filled their beds, before the first star lit the darkness, there was only chaos. But this was not chaos as we understand it today, with noise and confusion. This was something far older and stranger. Chaos was emptiness itself, a great void that yawned like an endless mouth, swallowing light and sound and meaning. From this nothingness came the first beings, not gods as we would recognize them, but forces given form. First was Gaia, the earth herself, solid and eternal. Then came Tartarus, the deep pit beneath the world where darkness lived. And finally Eros, not the child with bow and arrow we know from later tales, but love itself, the power that draws all things together and makes creation possible. Gaia was patient and strong. From her body she brought forth Uranus, the sky, who stretched above her like a great dome studded with stars. He became both her son and her husband, covering her completely each night. Together they created the first children of the world. The Titans came first, 12 mighty beings who would rule before the Olympian gods were even dreams. There was Oceanus, who flowed around the world like a great river. Hyperion, lord of heavenly light. Zeus and Crius, masters of the north and south. Iapetus, father of mankind's friends and enemies. And Kronos, youngest and most clever, whose name would one day mean time itself. Among the sisters were Thea, who shone like silver, Rhea, destined to be mother of gods, Themis, who knew right from wrong, Mnemosyne, who remembered all things, Phoebe, who glowed like moonlight, and Tethys, grandmother of rivers and streams. But Gaia's womb held more than beautiful titans. She also bore monsters that made even the gods tremble. The Cyclopes came first, Brontes, who made thunder, Steropes, who forged lightning, and Argesh, who crafted brightness itself. Each had one enormous eye in the center of his forehead and hands that could shape metal like clay. Then came the most terrible of all the Centimanes, the 100-handed ones. 3 brothers named Cottus, Briareus, and Gyges, each with 50 heads and 100 arms. When they moved, the earth shook. When they spoke, their voices were like earthquakes. Uranus looked upon these children and felt not pride but fear. Their strength threatened his power. Their strange forms offended his sense of beauty. So he made a cruel decision. He pushed them back into Gaia's womb, deep into the earth where no light could reach them. Gaia groaned in pain. The weight of her children pressed against her from within like stones in her belly. Night after night, Uranus came to her, holding her down, keeping her children buried. She could bear it no longer. From her own body, Gaia shaped a weapon, a great sickle of flint, sharp as winter wind and hard as her own resolve. She called her Titan children to her and spoke of justice and revenge. "Your father has wronged us all," she said. "Who will help me right this wrong?" One by one, they turned away, afraid of Uranus and his power over sky and storm. all except Kronos, the youngest, who stepped forward with eyes that missed nothing and a smile that promised trouble. "Give me the blade," he said. "I will do what must be done." So Gaia set her trap. When Uranus came to her in darkness, pressing the sky down upon the earth, Kronos was waiting. The sickle flashed once, and Uranus screamed as the blade cut away his power. Kronos cast the severed parts into the sea, where they foamed and bubbled. From that white foam rose something unexpected, a woman of impossible beauty. She stepped onto the shore at Cyprus, perfect in every way, with eyes that could start wars and lips that could end them. This was Aphrodite, goddess of love and desire, born from an act of violence but destined to rule hearts across the world. But the earth drank deeply of Uranus's blood that night. Where it fell, new beings sprang up. The Furies appeared first, three sisters wrapped in shadow whose job would be to hunt down those who killed their own family. The giants came next, huge and wild, who would one day challenge the gods themselves. And the Meliae, nymphs of ash trees, keepers of the wild places where civilization feared to go. Uranus, wounded and dethroned, retreated to the far edges of the sky. Before he disappeared forever, he spoke a curse that would echo through time. "As I was overthrown by my son, so shall he be overthrown by his." It was not revenge he spoke, but simply truth. The wheel of time turns for all, and no king rules forever. The Age of Kronos. With Uranus cast down and the sky no longer pressed tight against the earth, the world could breathe again. Kronos claimed the throne of heaven and released his monstrous brothers from their prison in the deep earth. For the first time in ages, the Cyclopes and the hundred-handed ones saw sunlight. But freedom came with a price. Kronos feared these beings just as his father had. Their power was too great, their forms too strange. So he bound them again, this time in chains of his own making, and cast them into Tartarus, that deep pit beneath even the roots of the world. There they would remain, forgotten by all but the earth herself. Kronos took his sister Rhea as his wife, as was the way of gods in those early days. Together they ruled over what poets would later call the Golden Age, a time when mortals, newly created and still innocent, lived without sorrow or want. The earth gave fruit without plowing, honey without bees, wine without grapes. No one grew old, no one made war, no one even knew what death meant. But Kronos could not forget his father's curse. The words haunted his dreams like shadows at noon. When Rhea bore their first child, a daughter they named Hestia, Kronos held the baby for only a moment before opening his great mouth and swallowing her whole. No trace remained except the memory of what he had done. Rhea wept, but her tears changed nothing. When their second child was born, Demeter, who would have been goddess of growing things, Kronos swallowed her too. Then came Hera, future queen of heaven, and she too vanished down her father's throat. Next was Hades, destined to rule the dead, and then Poseidon, who should have commanded the seas. 5 children lost to their father's fear. But when Rhea felt the 6th child stirring in her womb, she decided she would not lose another baby to Kronos' terror. She traveled far from their palace to the island of Crete, where caves cut deep into the mountainside and shepherds knew how to keep secrets. There, in hiding, she gave birth to Zeus. From his first breath, the child was different. His cry shook the mountain. His eyes opened wide and fearless. And when he grabbed his mother's finger, she felt the strength that would one day reshape the world. To fool Kronos, Rhea wrapped a stone in baby clothes and brought it to her husband. Without looking closely, driven by panic and prophecy, he swallowed it like all the rest. The deception worked. Zeus was safe. Hidden in a cave beneath Mount Ida, the baby god was raised by mountain nymphs who fed him on honey and the milk of a magical goat named Amalthea. When Zeus cried, young warriors called Curetes danced around the cave, clashing their shields and spears to drown out the sound. No one must know that the future king of gods was growing strong in secret. As Zeus grew to manhood in his hidden cave, the world above remained locked in Kronos' golden prison. The king of Titans had built a realm of peace, but it was peace bought with terror. In the depths of Tartarus, the Cyclopes and hundred-handed ones waited in chains, and in Kronos' own belly, 5 young gods waited in darkness for a freedom that seemed like it would never come. But Zeus was learning. The nymphs taught him about plants and animals, weather and stone. The shepherds told him stories of justice and courage. And sometimes, in dreams that felt more real than waking, Gaia herself whispered to him about the past and what was yet to come. The War of the Titans. Zeus did not stay hidden forever. As he grew to full godhood, his power became impossible to conceal. Lightning flickered when he was angry, thunder rolled when he laughed, and eagles circled his mountain as if recognizing their future king. He knew he could not face Kronos alone. First, he would need allies, and the greatest of these would be his own brothers and sisters, still trapped in their father's belly. For this, he sought help from Métis, the Titaness of wisdom, whose counsel was sharp as winter stars. Together they brewed a potion part medicine, part poison, all deception. Zeus disguised himself as a servant and brought the drink to Kronos, mixed with wine sweet as summer honey. The king of Titans drank deeply, trusting nothing and no one as little as he trusted himself. The potion worked quickly. Kronos doubled over in pain, his immortal body rejecting what it had consumed. One by one, he vomited up his children not as babies, but as full-grown gods blazing with divine power. First came Poseidon, already bearing the authority of the sea. Then Hades, silent and terrible, lord of the deep earth. Hera emerged next, proud and fierce, followed by Demeter, gentle but strong. Finally came Hestia, eldest and wisest, goddess of hearth and home. The 6 siblings stood together for the first time, and in that moment, they knew what they must do. They would not rule as Kronos had ruled, through fear and swallowing of children. They would bring a new age to the world, but first they would have to fight for it. Kronos was not without allies. The older Titans rallied to him, remembering the wars they had fought to defeat Uranus and unwilling to see their power slip away to these young gods. Oceanus, who flowed around the world, remained neutral. He was too old and wise for war, but the others chose sides. Hyperion brought his mastery of light, Crius his knowledge of the south wind, Iapetus his cunning, and Zeus his understanding of the northern sky. The war that followed would last 10 years and shake the foundations of creation itself. Later poets would call it the Titanomachy, the battle of Titans and Olympians. It split heaven and earth, turning brother against brother and tearing great wounds in the fabric of the world. Mount Othrys became the fortress of the Titans, its peaks wreathed in cloud and storm. The Olympians made their stronghold on Mount Olympus, taller and more terrible, where Zeus gathered not just his siblings but other gods who saw the future more clearly than the past. For 10 years, the battle raged without clear victory for either side. Mountains were thrown like stones, seas boiled and turned to steam, forests burned, and the sky itself seemed ready to crack and fall. The few mortals who had been created cowered in caves and deep valleys, praying to any god who might listen. But Zeus remembered his grandmother Gaia's whispered words about the imprisoned ones. If he was to win this war, he would need the greatest allies of all, the Cyclopes and the hundred-handed ones, still chained in Tartarus. With his brothers and sisters beside him, Zeus descended to the very bottom of the world. They broke the chains that Kronos had forged and freed the ancient prisoners. The Cyclopes, grateful beyond measure, immediately set to work. For Zeus they forged thunderbolts that could shatter mountains. For Poseidon they made a trident that could split the earth and command the seas. For Hades they crafted a helmet that made its wearer invisible as shadow. But the greatest gift was the loyalty of the hundred-handed ones. These ancient giants, with their 50 heads and 100 arms each, joined the war with fury that had been building for eons. They hurled boulders like hailstones and struck down titans with fists like hammers of creation itself. The tide turned. One by one the titans fell, overwhelmed by lightning and storm, by earthquake and invisible death. Kronos fought to the last, but even he could not stand against his son's new weapons and allies. Zeus's thunderbolt struck him down, and the war was over. The defeated titans were chained and cast into Tartarus, the same prison where they had once kept the Cyclopes and hundred-handed ones. Justice, Zeus said, though it might have been revenge. Only a few escaped this fate: Prometheus and Epimetheus, who had fought for the Olympians, and some of the Titanesses who submitted to the new order. Zeus stood victorious, master of the sky and king of gods. But the world was broken, scarred by war, and needed to be rebuilt. The age of the Titans was over. The age of Olympus had begun. The division of the world. Victory in war is one thing. Learning how to rule in peace is another. Zeus stood among the ruins of creation, surrounded by his brothers and sisters, and faced the question that had destroyed both Uranus and Kronos: how to hold power without being destroyed by it. The answer came not from strength or cunning, but from wisdom. Zeus knew that the world was too vast and complex for any one god to rule completely. He had two brothers who had fought beside him and earned the right to rule as well. Rather than repeat the mistakes of the past, he chose to share power. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades cast lots to divide the cosmos between them. The method was ancient and sacred. They threw marked stones and let fate decide rather than fighting among themselves. When the lots fell, the world was split into three great kingdoms. Zeus claimed the sky and became lord of storm and weather, ruler of the air from the highest peaks to the lowest valleys. His voice would speak in thunder, his mood would show in lightning, and his symbols would be the eagle and the thunderbolt. From Mount Olympus, he would watch over both gods and mortals. Poseidon received the seas and all waters that flowed across the earth. Rivers and lakes, springs and fountains, all belonged to him. With his new trident, he could shake the foundations of islands or calm the wildest storms. He built a palace beneath the waves, where sea nymphs danced and monsters of the deep came to pay him honor. To Hades fell the underworld, the realm of the dead that lay deep beneath the earth. It was not the kingdom most would have chosen, but Hades accepted it without complaint. He would rule the shades of the deceased with stern justice, and from his throne in the depths, he would also command all the wealth hidden in the earth, gold and silver, precious stones and metals. The earth itself they agreed to share as common ground, a place where all three brothers might walk and work their will. It would be the meeting place of sky, sea, and underworld, where gods and mortals would live side by side. With the world divided and the boundaries set, Zeus began to gather the gods who would rule from Olympus. His sisters came first. Hera, who had always been proud and strong, became his wife and queen, goddess of marriage and childbirth. Demeter would watch over the growing things, grain and fruit, the cycles of planting and harvest. Hestia, eldest of them all, asked for no grand role but tended the hearth fire that burned at the center of every home. Other gods joined them, some born of the Titans, others springing from Zeus himself or from stranger births. Athena came from Zeus's head, fully grown and armored, goddess of wisdom and warfare. Apollo and Artemis, twin children of Zeus and the Titaness Leto, brought light and hunting, music and the silver moon. Aphrodite, born from the sea foam, commanded love and beauty with a power that even Zeus found difficult to resist. There was Ares, god of war but not the clever warfare of Athena. His was the fury of the battlefield, the joy of slaughter and the clash of bronze on bronze. Hephaestus, the master craftsman, built wonders of gold and bronze despite his twisted legs and scarred hands. Hermes, messenger and trickster, moved between the worlds with winged sandals and a smile that promised both help and trouble. These 12 gods, though the list sometimes changed as new deities rose or old ones stepped aside, became the Olympians. They built their palaces on the mountain's peak, above the clouds where mortal eyes could not easily see them. There they held council, made laws for gods and mortals, and began the business of running a world. But Zeus had learned from his father's mistakes. He would not rule through fear alone, swallowing his children or chaining those who threatened him. Instead, he would use both wisdom and strength, making allies when he could and crushing enemies only when necessary. The creation of humanity. The gods had their thrones and their domains, but the world below Olympus remained strangely empty. Animals roamed the forests and filled the seas, but there were no voices to sing the gods' praises, no hands to build temples, no hearts to feel the joy and terror that divine power could bring. It was Prometheus who first imagined humanity. He was a titan, but not like the others. During the Great War, he had sided with Zeus, seeing further into the future than his fellow titans. His name meant forethought, and he spent his days thinking about what the world could become rather than mourning what it had lost. Prometheus was fascinated by the potential he saw sleeping in clay and stone. Working beside a river bank, he began to shape figures from mud, not like the animals, who walked on 4 legs and kept their eyes on the ground, but upright beings who could look toward the sky. His brother Epimetheus, whose name meant afterthought, helped in his careless way, but it was Prometheus who breathed life into their creations. The first humans were beautiful but helpless. They had no claws to defend themselves, no thick fur to keep them warm, no natural weapons to hunt with. They shivered in the cold and hid from predators, surviving by eating roots and berries like frightened animals. Prometheus looked at his creations and felt pity stir in his immortal heart. He went to Zeus and asked for a gift to help humanity survive, the gift of fire, which belonged to the gods alone. Zeus refused. He had just won a war against beings who threatened his power. The last thing he wanted was to create another race that might one day challenge divine authority. "Let them live," he said, "but let them know their place. Fire belongs to the immortals." But Prometheus would not accept this judgment. In secret, he climbed to the heavens and stole a flame from Hephaestus's forge, hiding it in a hollow fennel stalk. He brought this fire to humanity and watched as they lit their first torches, cooked their first meals, and began to forge the tools that would lift them above the beasts. Zeus discovered the theft quickly enough. His rage was terrible to behold. Thunder shook Olympus, lightning split the sky, and the gods trembled at their king's fury. But he was also cunning. Rather than simply punish Prometheus, he decided to create a gift for humanity that would carry its own curse. He commanded the gods to create a woman. Hephaestus shaped her from clay, but clay more perfect than any mortal form. Aphrodite gave her beauty that could stop hearts. Athena taught her to weave and work with her hands. Hermes gifted her with a silver tongue that could persuade anyone of anything. The gods dressed her in fine clothes and called her Pandora, all gifted. But their greatest gift to her was also their cruelest, an uncontrollable curiosity about the large jar she carried. Zeus had filled this jar with all the sorrows and evils that would plague humanity. Disease and death, war and famine, jealousy and despair, old age and heartbreak. Pandora was given to Epimetheus as a wife, despite Prometheus's warnings to his brother. For a time, the first woman brought only joy to the world. She was beautiful and clever, kind and loving, but the jar called to her day and night, whispering secrets she longed to learn. Finally, curiosity overcame caution. Pandora opened the jar, and immediately all the evils flew out like black birds, spreading across the world to make their nests in human hearts. Disease began to ravage the first cities, war broke out between tribes, and death came to claim those who had once lived forever. Only one thing remained in the jar when Pandora slammed the lid shut: hope. Whether it stayed inside by accident or design, no one knows, but it was the one gift that would help humanity endure all the sorrows that had been unleashed. As for Prometheus, his punishment was both creative and cruel. Zeus had him chained to a mountain at the edge of the world, where every day an eagle would come to eat his liver, and every night it would grow back so the torment could begin again. He was immortal, so the pain could not kill him, but he would suffer for ages beyond counting. Yet even in his agony, Prometheus did not regret his choice. He had given humanity the tools they needed to survive and grow. Fire would lead to metalworking, to cooking, to warmth in winter nights. From fire would come civilization itself. The ages of mortals. As humanity spread across the earth, they did not remain the same. The gods watched their creations change and grow, rising and falling like waves upon a shore. The poet Hesiod, writing centuries later, would divide human history into 5 ages, each marked by its own character and fate. The first was the Golden Age, which came during Kronos' rule, before the War of Titans shattered the world's innocence. In this time, humans lived like gods themselves. They never aged past their prime, never knew sickness or sorrow, never had to work for food or shelter. The earth gave them everything freely, honey dripping from trees, grain growing wild in the fields, wine flowing from springs. When these golden people finally died, it was like falling into the gentlest sleep. Their spirits became daimons, kindly guardians who watched over justice and protected the innocent. They were the closest mortals would ever come to divinity. But the Golden Age ended with Kronos' fall. The Silver Age that followed brought humans who were less noble, though they lived longer than any who came after. These silver people were strong and beautiful, but they were also foolish and proud. They lived as children for 100 years, cared for by their mothers, then suddenly became adults who thought they knew everything. Worst of all, they refused to honor the gods. They built no temples, made no sacrifices, and mocked the divine powers that had created them. Zeus, angry at their arrogance, swept them from the earth. Their spirits went to the underworld as shadows, forgotten and unmourned. The Bronze Age followed, and with it came a race of warriors. These humans were made from ash trees, the same wood used for spear shafts, and they lived for battle. Their bodies were bronze, their houses were bronze, even their hearts seemed forged from metal. They knew nothing but war, fighting each other until the race destroyed itself completely. They left behind only broken weapons and empty battlefields. Then came something unexpected, not a decline, but a brief flowering of greatness. The heroic age was short but glorious, producing mortals who were half divine, children of gods and humans who performed deeds worthy of a mortal song. This was the age of Perseus and Heracles, of Theseus and Jason, of the warriors who fought at Troy. Many of these heroes died young, cut down by fate or their own pride. But their names lived on in story and song, and some were granted a place in the islands of the blessed, where they could rest in eternal summer, far beyond the western sea. Finally came the Iron Age, the time when Hesiod himself lived, and our own time too. This is an age of struggle and sorrow, when mortals must work hard for everything they gain. Iron weapons bring iron hearts. People lie to each other, break their promises, and forget the bonds that should hold families and communities together. In the Iron Age, justice has grown weak and tired. Dishonesty spreads like disease, and the gap between rich and poor grows wider every day. Children no longer honor their parents. Hosts no longer welcome guests, and the gods, weary of human folly, begin to turn their faces away. Yet for all its hardships, the Iron Age has produced its own wonders. Humans have learned to build great cities, to write down their thoughts, to create art and music that can move even immortal hearts. In their struggles against fate and death, they have found a kind of nobility that even the Golden Age could not match. The greatest heroes. Among all the mortals who have ever lived, a few have risen so high that their stories became immortal. These heroes bridge the gap between human and divine, showing what mortals can achieve when they refuse to accept the limitations fate seems to place upon them. Greatest of all was Heracles, son of Zeus and the mortal woman Alcmene. His story begins with deception. Zeus came to Alcmene disguised as her husband Amphitryon and stretched one night into 3 so their union would produce a child of extraordinary power. Hera, always watchful for Zeus's infidelities, knew the child would be special and immediately began plotting his destruction. While Heracles was still a baby, she sent 2 serpents to his cradle. But even as an infant, his divine strength was evident. He strangled both snakes with his bare hands, laughing as he did it. Tragedy struck when Heracles was in his prime. Hera, still plotting her revenge, sent madness upon him. In his crazed state, he killed his own wife Megara and their children, mistaking them for enemies. When the madness passed and he saw what he had done, his grief was terrible to behold. Seeking purification for his crime, Heracles consulted the oracle at Delphi. The Pythia told him he must serve his cousin Eurystheus, king of Tiryns, for 12 years and complete whatever labors the king commanded. Only through this service could he cleanse himself of innocent blood. The 12 labors that followed tested every aspect of his character. He strangled the Nemean lion, whose hide could not be pierced by mortal weapons. He slew the Lernaean hydra, burning each neck stump as he severed it to prevent regrowth. He captured the Ceryneian hind, sacred to Artemis, after chasing it for a year. He wrestled the Erymanthian boar in mountain snows and cleaned the Augean stables by diverting rivers to wash away 30 years of filth. Each labor was more than a feat of strength. They were encounters with death, with the edge of the world, with the very fabric of human suffering. Through them, Heracles became more than a hero. He became a symbol of mortal endurance, of pain redeemed through effort. At his death, poisoned by a robe soaked in the blood of a centaur, he built his own funeral pyre and climbed atop it, mortal no longer. The gods took him to Olympus, where even Hera at last accepted him as divine. He became the only mortal to join the pantheon, a god forged in agony. Perseus, another son of Zeus, showed that wit could triumph over monsters just as surely as strength. Born of Danae, who was imprisoned in a bronze tower because of a prophecy that her child would kill her father, Perseus was cast into the sea as an infant but survived to become one of the greatest heroes. When he boasted that he could bring King Polydectes, the head of Medusa, the Gorgon whose gaze turned living creatures to stone, the gods aided him. Athena lent him her polished shield. Hermes gave him winged sandals and a curved sword, and the Graeae revealed the location of their sister's lair. Using Athena's shield as a mirror, Perseus approached the sleeping Medusa backward and severed her head with a single stroke. From her blood sprang Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a golden warrior. Perseus escaped invisible in Hades's cap, and on his journey home rescued Andromeda from a sea monster, winning her as his bride. Theseus of Athens became legendary not just for strength but for wisdom and justice. He cleared the road to Athens of bandits and monsters, then volunteered to go to Crete as one of the young Athenians sent to feed the Minotaur. With help from Ariadne, who gave him thread to navigate the labyrinth, he killed the monster and freed his city from its shameful tribute. As king of Athens, Theseus unified the scattered towns of Attica and established the democratic principles that would make Athens the cultural center of the Greek world. He proved that heroes could be builders as well as destroyers. Jason gathered the greatest heroes of his age aboard the ship Argo to seek the Golden Fleece in the distant land of Colchis. With help from the sorceress Medea, who fell in love with him, he completed impossible tasks and stole the fleece from its dragon guardian. But their love story ended in tragedy when Jason abandoned Medea for a political marriage, driving her to terrible revenge. These heroes and many others, Bellerophon who rode Pegasus, Atalanta the swift huntress, Orpheus whose music could charm stones, showed that mortals could achieve greatness through courage, cleverness, and determination. Their stories inspired countless others to reach beyond their limitations and attempt the impossible. The Trojan War. Of all the wars ever fought, none has echoed through history like the 10-year siege of Troy. It began with a beauty contest among goddesses and ended with the destruction of the greatest city in the world. It was a war where gods fought alongside mortals, where heroes achieved immortal glory, and where the price of pride was paid in blood and tears. The seeds of war were planted at a wedding that should have been a celebration of peace. Peleus, a mortal king, was marrying the sea nymph Thetis, and all the gods were invited to the celebration, all except one. Eris, goddess of discord, was left out because wherever she went, trouble followed. Furious at the snub, Eris decided to give the wedding guests a gift they would never forget. She threw a golden apple into the midst of the celebration, and on it were inscribed 3 words that would shatter kingdoms. To the fairest. 3 goddesses immediately claimed the apple: Hera, queen of the gods; Athena, goddess of wisdom; and Aphrodite, goddess of beauty. Their argument grew so heated that Zeus himself could not settle it. Instead, he appointed a judge, a young prince of Troy named Paris. Each goddess offered Paris a bribe for her vote. Hera promised to make him ruler of all Asia. Athena offered him wisdom and skill in warfare that would make him unconquerable. But Aphrodite made an offer that a young man could not refuse. She would give him the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris gave the apple to Aphrodite, and from that moment, Troy's fate was sealed. The most beautiful woman in the world was Helen, daughter of Zeus and Leda, wife of Menelaus of Sparta. Her beauty was so legendary that all the great princes of Greece had once competed for her hand. To prevent war among the losers, they had sworn an oath to defend whoever won her and to punish anyone who tried to steal her away. When Paris came to Sparta as a guest and sailed away with Helen, whether she went willingly or was taken by force, the poets disagree, Menelaus called upon the sacred oath. From across Greece, the former suitors answered, Agamemnon, Odysseus, Ajax, Achilles, and many others. The Greek army gathered at Aulis, 1,000 ships carrying the greatest warriors of the age. But the winds would not rise to carry them to Troy. The seer Calchas revealed that Artemis was angry and demanded a sacrifice to appease her wrath. Agamemnon's own daughter, Iphigenia. The king sacrificed his child for the sake of war, and the winds finally came. The Greek fleet sailed east toward Troy, where King Priam and his sons, led by the noble Hector, prepared to defend their city behind walls built by gods themselves. For 9 years, the Greeks besieged Troy without success. The city's walls were too strong, its defenders too brave. The war might have lasted forever if not for a quarrel between the two greatest men in the Greek army, Agamemnon and Achilles. The trouble began when Agamemnon took Achilles' prize, a captive woman named Briseis, to replace his own concubine whom he had been forced to return to her father. Achilles, insulted by this public humiliation, withdrew from the fighting and took his myrmidons with him. Without their greatest warrior, the Greeks began to lose badly. Hector led the Trojans in attack after attack, driving the invaders back to their ships. Finally, Patroclus, Achilles' dearest friend, begged to be allowed to fight in his place, wearing Achilles' armor. Patroclus drove the Trojans back but went too far in his success. At the gates of Troy, he met Hector in single combat and fell beneath the Trojan prince's spear. When news of his friend's death reached Achilles, his grief and rage shook the very foundations of the war. Achilles returned to battle with fury beyond human understanding. He carved through the Trojan army like lightning through a tree, killing so many that the river ran red with blood. When he finally faced Hector beneath the walls of Troy, the outcome was never in doubt. The greatest of the Trojans fell, and with him died Troy's hope of victory. But Achilles would not survive the war either. A poisoned arrow, guided by Apollo, struck his heel, the one vulnerable spot on his body where his mother had held him when she dipped him in the river Styx. The greatest of all Greek heroes died in the dust of Troy. With their champion dead, the Greeks turned to cunning rather than strength. Odysseus conceived the plan of the wooden horse, a massive hollow statue that would hide their best warriors inside. The Greeks pretended to abandon the siege, leaving only the horse as an offering to Athena. The Trojans, despite warnings from the priest Laocoon, dragged the horse inside their city. That night, the hidden warriors emerged, opened the gates, and Troy fell to fire and sword. King Priam died at his altar. Hector's infant son was thrown from the walls, and the city that had stood for centuries was reduced to ash and memory. Helen was returned to Menelaus, and the Greeks prepared for their journey home. But their victory was tainted with crimes that would not go unpunished. The gods had watched the war with fascination, but now they turned their attention to justice. The long road home. The Greeks had won their war, but victory brought them no peace. As their ships left the burning ruins of Troy, the gods began to settle their own scores. The journey home, which should have been a celebration, became instead a series of trials that tested the heroes even more severely than the war itself. Agamemnon reached Mycenae first, carrying with him Cassandra, the Trojan prophetess he had claimed as his prize. But his wife Clytemnestra had spent 10 years planning revenge for the sacrifice of their daughter Iphigenia. She killed her husband in his bath, claiming it was justice for his crimes. Menelaus and Helen wandered for 7 years through the Mediterranean, blown off course by divine winds. When they finally returned to Sparta, their marriage was haunted by the ghosts of Troy and the knowledge that their love had cost so many lives. But it was Odysseus whose journey became the most famous and terrible. Cursed by Poseidon for blinding the Cyclops Polyphemus, he was condemned to wander the seas for 10 years, facing trials that would have broken a lesser man. He encountered the Lotus Eaters, whose fruit made men forget their homes and families. He outwitted the sorceress Circe, who turned his men into swine. He descended to the edge of the underworld and spoke with the dead. He heard the song of the sirens while tied to his mast, sailed between the monster Scylla and the whirlpool Charybdis, and was held prisoner for 7 years by the nymph Calypso. When Odysseus finally reached Ithaca, he found his palace overrun with suitors courting his faithful wife Penelope. Disguised as a beggar, he assessed the situation and planned his revenge. In a contest to string his great bow, he revealed his identity and systematically killed every one of the suitors. After 20 years of war and wandering, the hero had finally come home. But the age of heroes was ending, and the world was changing in ways that would reshape the relationship between gods and mortals forever. The Olympian gods in their glory. While mortals struggled with fate and fought their wars below, the gods of Olympus established their own divine society on the highest peak of their sacred mountain. Zeus ruled from his throne of gold and storm, master of sky and weather, father of gods and men. But he was not a distant deity. He was passionate, curious, and often romantically foolish, traits that led to countless adventures and divine children. Beside him sat Hera, his sister wife and queen of heaven. Beautiful and proud, she should have been the perfect divine consort, but their relationship was troubled by his constant infidelities and her equally constant jealousy. She spent much of her time plotting revenge against Zeus's lovers and their children. Poseidon ruled the seas from his underwater palace, his moods as changeable as the ocean itself. Sailors prayed to him before every voyage, hoping to avoid the earthquakes and tidal waves that could destroy them if they angered the sea god. Hades remained in his underworld kingdom, rarely visiting Olympus. He was not evil but simply stern and unchanging, the necessary darkness that balanced his brother's light and movement. The dead were his subjects, and he ruled them with absolute but fair authority. Demeter, goddess of the harvest, was beloved by mortals who depended on her good will for survival. When she was happy, the earth bloomed with grain and fruit. When she grieved, especially during the months when her daughter Persephone was trapped in the underworld, winter came and the earth lay barren. Athena, born from Zeus's head, became goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare. Unlike Ares, who loved battle for its own sake, Athena fought only for just causes and preferred to win through intelligence rather than brute force. She was patron of heroes and protector of cities, especially Athens. Apollo, golden-haired and beautiful, was god of light, music, poetry, healing, and prophecy. His oracle at Delphi was the most respected in Greece, but Apollo could also bring plague and death when angered. His twin sister Artemis was goddess of the hunt and the moon, protector of wild animals and young girls. She had asked Zeus for eternal virginity and punished anyone who threatened her purity or that of her followers. Ares, god of war, was the most disliked of the Olympians despite his power. He represented the brutal, chaotic side of battle that even his parents found difficult to love. Hephaestus, the divine craftsman, was lame and scarred but indispensable for his skill with hammer and forge. He crafted thunderbolts for Zeus and countless other wonders in his workshop beneath Mount Etna. Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, was married to Hephaestus but loved Ares. Their affair scandalized Olympus, but love and war seemed natural partners. Finally, there was Hermes, the messenger god, whose winged sandals carried him between all worlds. He was god of boundaries and travelers, of thieves and merchants, guide of souls from life to death. These 12 Olympians created a divine society unlike anything seen before or since. They were not remote creators but active participants in mortal affairs, taking sides in wars, falling in love with humans, and involving themselves in every aspect of earthly life. The mystery religions and the decline of the gods. As Greek civilization became more complex and cosmopolitan, many people began to feel that traditional worship of the Olympian gods was insufficient for their spiritual needs. This hunger led to the rise of mystery religions, secret cults that promised initiates a direct, personal relationship with divine powers and hope for a blessed afterlife. The Eleusinian Mysteries, based on the story of Demeter and Persephone, were the most famous. Initiates underwent purifications, fasted for days, and witnessed dramatic performances of the myth. Those who completed the initiation emerged with profound confidence about their fate after death. The Orphic Mysteries taught that the soul was trapped in the body and could only escape through purification and proper knowledge. Dionysiac Mysteries focused on the gods' own death and resurrection, offering hope to mortals facing mortality. These mystery religions offered something that public worship could not: personal salvation and the promise of life after death. They attracted people from all social classes and helped bridge the gap between the old religious traditions and newer philosophical ideas. But the greatest change came with the rise of new religions from the East. From Egypt came Isis, from Persia came Mithras, and from Judea came Christianity, faiths that offered moral guidance and personal salvation in ways that the traditional Greek gods could not match. Christianity, in particular, proved remarkably successful. Unlike the mystery religions that could be practiced alongside traditional worship, Christianity demanded exclusive loyalty. Its promise of universal love and salvation attracted converts from every level of society. As Christianity grew in power and influence, it began to compete directly with traditional religions for followers and political support. Christian emperors legalized the new faith, while later rulers actively suppressed pagan worship. The transition was gradual but inexorable. The Olympic Games were banned in 393 CE. The oracle at Delphi gave its last prophecy in the 4th century and then fell silent. One by one, the great temples were abandoned, their marble columns standing empty against the sky. The gods themselves seemed to withdraw from the world. No longer did heroes receive visits from disguised deities or discover divine weapons in sacred groves. The age of active divine intervention in human affairs was ending. The Renaissance revival and modern legacy. For nearly 1,000 years, the Greek gods slumbered in dusty manuscripts and forgotten ruins. But in the 14th and 15th centuries, the Renaissance brought a remarkable revival. Italian humanists rediscovered classical learning, and artists found in Greek mythology a rich source of beauty and inspiration. Botticelli's Birth of Venus showed the goddess rising from sea foam with grace that captured the Renaissance spirit. Michelangelo's sculptures gave mythic heroes physical perfection that reflected renewed interest in human potential. The myths provided acceptable ways to explore themes of beauty, passion, and tragedy that might have been controversial in purely Christian contexts. The printing press accelerated the revival by making classical texts widely available. Knowledge of mythological stories became a mark of cultural sophistication throughout Europe. The Romantic movement of the late 18th and early 19th centuries found in Greek mythology emotional and imaginative inspiration that contrasted with rational Enlightenment thought. Poets like Byron, Shelley, and Keats drew on mythic themes to explore passion, beauty, and rebellion. The 20th century brought psychological approaches to mythology. Freud saw in the Oedipus story a universal pattern of childhood development, while Jung argued that the gods represented archetypal patterns in the human unconscious. Modern literature continued to mine the mythic tradition. James Joyce's Ulysses retold the Odyssey in modern Dublin, while countless other writers found in ancient stories themes and structures that remained relevant to contemporary life. Cinema gave the myths spectacular new life, from early silent films to modern blockbusters. Television, comic books, and video games continued this process of adaptation and reinterpretation. Young adult literature has found the myths particularly rich material. Series like Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson books have introduced new generations to classical stories, while updating them for contemporary concerns. Through all these transformations, certain core elements have remained constant. The gods continue to represent fundamental aspects of human experience that transcend cultural boundaries. Zeus embodies the corruption of absolute power. Athena represents wisdom and strategy. Aphrodite symbolizes the beauty and danger of love. The heroes continue to serve as models of courage and determination. Their stories offer what they have always offered: compelling narratives that help us understand ourselves and our world. Eternal return. And so we reach the end of our journey through Greek mythology, though endings in this tradition are never quite final. The stories we have explored form a cycle that has no true beginning or end, renewed by each generation that discovers them. These myths survive not because they contain factual information about the world, but because they contain emotional and psychological truths that remain relevant across cultures and centuries. They speak to permanent aspects of the human condition that no amount of progress can eliminate. We still struggle with fate and free will like Oedipus. We still face choices between duty and desire like the heroes at Troy. We still wonder about justice, mortality, love, and meaning, the same questions that drove the ancient Greeks to create their mythological systems. The gods have shown remarkable ability to adapt while maintaining their essential characteristics. Zeus may no longer hurl thunderbolts from Olympus, but he continues to appear in stories about power's corruption. Athena may not personally guide heroes, but she remains a symbol of wisdom. Aphrodite still represents love's transformative and dangerous power. The Greeks gave us more than entertaining tales. They created a way of thinking about the world that recognizes both its beauty and tragedy, both potential for greatness and certainty of loss. Their gods were flawed because their creators understood that perfection is inhuman. Most importantly, Greek mythology teaches us about the power of narrative itself. These stories have survived for over 3,000 years not because they are literally true, but because they are true in a deeper way. They help us understand what it means to be human in a complex and mysterious universe. The temples may be ruins and the oracles silent, but the stories continue. In every hero's journey, in every family conflict, in every meditation on mortality and meaning, the ancient myths live on. They have become part of the fundamental grammar of Western culture, a shared language for discussing experiences that might otherwise remain private. By listening to these tales, by thinking about their meaning, you help ensure their survival for future generations. The gods may have left Olympus, but they have never left us. They walk among us still, wearing new faces and speaking in new voices, but carrying the same eternal truths about love and loss, courage and consequence, dreams that lift us up and fate that brings us down. In the end, that may be the greatest magic of all, that stories told around fires 3,000 years ago can still warm our hearts and illuminate our minds today. The myths are dead as religion, but they are immortal as art, philosophy, and the enduring human attempt to make sense of our brief but meaningful journey through this strange and beautiful world. Sleep well, and may your dreams be filled with golden fleeces and winged horses, with wise goddesses and brave heroes, with all the wonder and terror and beauty that the Greeks saw when they first looked up at the stars and dared to imagine what stories they might tell.